So just recently, Five Nights at Freddy's had its 10th anniversary with such amazing releases like Into the Pit, My Pop Goes, and The Second Coming of Jesus Christ. All the usual stuff. With that, I knew it would be criminal not to do something for the 10th anniversary. I mean, my entire online persona is literally dedicated to this franchise. Unfortunately, I couldn't do a ranking every FNAF game video because somebody got to it first. Although they also unlisted that video because they're now changing up their content style, so I guess I could have done that. Oh well. So what could I do? Bazinga! I've got it. You guys absolutely loved the Mortal Kombat video apparently, and who doesn't love a little capitalism? I know I'm a bit late to this, but school started back up and these videos take time. So today, as a Halloween special, we're going to take this series for another spin and explain the entire Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, both gameplay and lore, very poorly. And no, we're not doing the dead meat joke again. Happy birthday, Five Nights at Freddy's. Double digits this year. Aren't you just the cutest? Ah, fuck! The original Five Nights at Freddy's opens with Mike Schmidt seeing an ad in the newspaper to work at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza as the night guard. All he has to do is keep an eye on the animatronics for the night and get a sweet pay of only $4 an hour? And they had to include a disclaimer about injury and dismemberment? Come on, Mike, there's gotta be a safer and better paying job, buddy. There is no way that this is the only ad in the newspaper. So, Mike takes the job, and on his first night, he is greeted to a pre-recorded message from Phone Guy.
Hello? Hey, I wanted to record some exposition for you to get you settled in on the craziest lore ever.
Phone Guy lets you know that
the animatronics do get a bit quirky at night,
and that they'll only recognize you as an endoskeleton, which is what they look like without their shells on, and will therefore try to forcefully stuff you into a spare one from the back, which I'm being told just now that is in fact lethal. Oh, and he mentions the Bite of 87, which will be important later. Very quickly on your first night, you'll notice that something isn't quite right once Bonnie begins to move towards your office. Luckily, you're equipped with some lights, doors, and cameras to aid your defense against the animatronics. Throughout the nights, you'll notice that they become more and more aggressive, as well as more of them becoming active. Bonnie and Foxy from the left, Freddy and Chica from the right. Both Freddy and Foxy can be stalled temporarily with the use of the camera, while doors are the only option for Bonnie and Chica. By the fourth night, Phone Guy sounds frightened by something you haven't quite heard before, and is presumed dead for the fifth night when you hear unintelligible garbling. Speaking of the fifth night, how desperate is Mike for this money? He's willing to risk his life for a measly $120 by coming to this place over and over. So much, in fact, that he comes back for an extra night for a whole 50 cents of overtime. Yeah, I'd be tampering with the animatronics too, I don't blame him. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 features the grand reopening of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which your character, Jeremy Fitzgerald, agrees to work at for even less pay than the first game, which you would think doesn't make any sense, but on your first night, you're greeted to the familiar sound of Phone Guy. Turns out this game takes place before the original, so Phone Guy hasn't, gone missing yet.
Hello? This time around you gotta wind a music box and, we gave you a mask. The Freddy mask should prevent anyone from trying to, stuff you into a suit.
Sure enough, the facial recognition system of the animatronics is completely tricked by the Freddy mask, so I'm just gonna wear this all night. Oh, Jesus! Like Phone Guy mentioned, there's a music box you have to be winding up throughout the night to stop the puppet from attacking you. And you also need to use your flashlight on Withered Foxy since his facial recognition system is all messed up. Both of these effectively stop you from abusing the masks, since there's gotta be at least someone in this location who realized that
there can't be two Freddys, right?
Well, 3. Turns out by the end of this game, somebody, presumably an old employee, has used an old yellow mascot costume and tampered with the animatronics. I wonder what animatronics and how he was tampering with them.
She is such a bad bitch, though.
I will fuck the shit out of that robot, man.
By the end of Night 6, the new Freddy's location is ready to shut down, but not before some other night guard named Fritz Smith is fired for tampering with the animatronics. Oh, and odor. Five Nights at Freddy's 3 introduces a new horror attraction named Fazbear's Fright, which is based on the mysteries of the, at this point, decades-old Freddy's location. Of course, on your first night, you are greeted with the ringing of a phone, and picking it up, you'll hear a sweet old,
Hey, we're opening in a week, so you gotta make sure nothing breaks or, catches on fire, dude.
Whoa, 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 whoa. You're not a phone guy.
Right on, man. I'm phone dude.
Whatever. Phone dude informs you on night 2 that he's found an old animatronic costume. Somehow he didn't notice any bad smell from, the fact that there's a visible rotting corpse inside of it. Although I'm sure he just thought it'd be cool for the horror attraction. Oh, and he found some old safety tapes from Phone Guy regarding spring-lock suits. Essentially, these suits function as both robots and mascot costumes. But if used improperly, they can result in death. If this happens, you should
please try to maneuver away from populated areas before bleeding out as to not ruin the customer experience.
Back to the gameplay though. In this one, you're up against Springtrap, who you must guide away using audio lures. Unfortunately, everything in this damned attraction runs like shit, so you have to keep repairing everything half the time. It doesn't help that you must have done some mad weed before you got here, because you keep hallucinating the old animatronics throughout the building. To give you the rundown, Freddy walks past your window, use the cameras or maintenance panel to avoid his jump scare, Chica will appear in the arcade cabinet on the cameras, and if you don't switch cams before closing them, she'll be waiting for you on the left of the office. Speaking of left, there's a random chance that Foxy will be waiting for you here. Balloon Boy can randomly appear on any camera, don't switch it in time and he'll appear in your office for a scare. Mangle and Puppet are also on specific cameras, and if you don't switch, Mangle will appear in the office and make a loud distracting noise, and Puppet will stare deep into your soul for a period of time. Overall, I'd say it's a relatively easy game because Springtrap is the only thing that can actually get you. Although his jump scare looks like he's trying to get with you, if you know what I mean. Story-wise, we learned that the previous employee, the purple guy, did indeed tamper with the animatronics, but in doing so he released the spirits of the kids that he killed, so he runs to hide inside a familiar-sounding yellow rabbit costume. Unfortunately, this is a spring-lock suit, and rushing to suit up while running from angry ghosts is not proper procedure for putting on such a costume, so this incident was covered up by Fazbear Entertainment, and the purple guy's corpse rotted away inside of the back room for years until he was uncovered and taken for use in Fazbear's Fright. By the end of the game, the Fazbear's Fright attraction burns to the ground, destroying most of the things inside, and the remaining props are sold at an auction. Oh, for fuck's sake. Here's where things get interesting. Five Nights at Freddy's 4 is a blast to the past as you are now playing in the 1980s. Whoa, sound familiar? In this game you play as a child in their bedroom while facing off against nightmarish versions of the original 4. Bonnie and Chica come from the left and right respectively, Foxy hides in your closet, and Freddy has little Freddles that appear on the bed, which will eventually manifest him into a reality. Eventually you'll also have to face off against a nightmare version of Fredbear, who I'm just now realizing I didn't talk about before. Basically, in FNAF 2, there's a brief mention of the original restaurant during one of the phone calls, and it was name-dropped as Fredbear's Family Diner. Anyways, Fredbear assumes the role of literally everyone else, and he eventually also does blackface.
Whoa! Is that blackface, dude?
No, this isn't blackface. I'm an actual demon.
Bro, please tell me that's not blackface.
Not
Serious?
cool, man.
No, you don't understand.
Also, in between nights, you run through a quick game with Nightmare Springtrap. Damn. There was also a Halloween edition, which was released and reskinned everyone to be a little bit more spooky, except for Freddy and Fredbear for some reason. On to the story. In the minigames, we are supposedly playing as someone who I'll be referring to as the Crying Child, because that's the only name I can use without someone arguing with me in the comments. Anyways, the Crying Child is being bullied by his older brother Michael by being scared or locked into rooms with scary mascot costumes. Then, on the crying child's birthday, Michael and his buddies decided the crying child needs a big kiss from Fredbear, which led to one of the most iconic clips in all of FNAF history.
I think the little man said he wants to give Fredbear a big kiss. On 3, 1, 2. Was that the bite of 87?
Actually, Mark, no, it was not the bite of 87. Yep. Turns out if you go up to this TV during the Night 3 minigame, you'll learn that it's actually 1983, which means this is an entirely different bite. Must have been a hell of a time for the Fazbear PR team having to clean up two of the same event only a couple of years apart. Oh, and if you didn't think the lore could get even more confusing, just you wait. Let's talk about the actual knights. Who are you playing as? Well, you would assume the crying child, but you're actually apparently playing as Michael, as revealed in the Five Nights at Freddy's Survival Logbook, because of this drawing. So then there's the question of what's going on. Are the events real? The description of the game implies so, but everything else implies this is a dream. Eventually, the Twisted Ones novel would release and reveal the existence of sound illusion discs, which is what many fans believed was the cause of the nightmare animatronics for the longest time. But then the books decided to go and fuck all of that up, because a whole 8 years later, Tales from the Pizzaplex, number 8, B7-2, would contain the story Dittophobia, where it would be very heavily implied that the FNAF 4 gameplay was actually the purple guy using hallucinogenic fear gas and mannequins to experiment on children. Oh, and don't even get me started on that damn box! Five Nights at Freddy's sister location shocked a lot of people. Everyone thought Scott would be done after he made FNAF World, that weird FNAF RPG spin-off that the community likes to pretend was the worst thing ever. But don't worry, I still love you, buddy. I'd love to go through all the spin-offs, the movie, and possibly the biggest fan games, but unfortunately this video is already going to be long enough as it is. Maybe for a sequel? Anyways, sister location opens with a cutscene of somebody speaking to a Mr. Afton, who, if you hadn't read the books, you wouldn't have thought anything of it. But for those that did...
Mr. Afton. Ah! Yeah! Nailed it already! Ow. Sorry, I'm really enthusiastic about that!
This was the major reveal that William Afton is in fact the real name of the purple guy. So thank God, I can finally stop calling him that. Then you are thrown into a descending elevator where you meet Hand Unit, who, fun fact, bullied me on my birthday.
But here's the deal, if your name is Quinn, not only do you have fewer friends and parents who don't love you, apparently you've got a severe lack of female companionship.
Anyways, you're asked your name by Hand Unit, which is revealed to you on the provided keypad. Michael. Let me just get this out of the way now. Yes, this Michael is the Michael from FNAF 4. Yes, he has a brother and a sister, the crying child and Elizabeth respectively. And finally, yes, these are the children of William Afton. I just want to say that now so I can make this easier for myself later. Throughout the nights in this game, you go through numerous tasks within Circus Baby's entertainment and rental, an underground facility housing the Funtime animatronics. Your tasks include checking on all the animatronics, crawling through different rooms hiding from Biddy Babs, resetting breakers, repairing Freddy, surviving a spring lock suit while these little shits try to spring the trap, and repairing Circus Baby. Luckily, the lore in this one is quite brief now that I've introduced you to the Afton family. Throughout the game, voice lines can be heard from Elizabeth begging her father to let her play with Baby. Ignoring her father's warnings, Elizabeth sneaks into Baby's room and is met with the unfortunate fate of Afton's child-murdering robot design. The point of this game was for Michael to come and find his sister inside of Baby. However, by the end of the game, Michael Afton is led to the scooping room by Ennard, an amalgamation of all the Funtime animatronics, who has been pretending to be Circus Baby this entire time. Ennard gives a brief speech about needing your skin so they can roam freely on the surface before scooping Michael. The game ends with Michael looking at himself in the mirror, revealing purple eyes. And that's where the lore for this game would end. If not for the Custom Night DLC, released just a few months later. Beating the very hard modes of each difficulty would reward you with Michael walking down the street in his neighborhood, but with each cutscene he would get progressively more purple until throwing up entered into the sewers. He seems dead until Baby's voice is heard telling him he won't die. Somehow that lets Michael just reverse his fall and come back to life. Jesus, does anyone in this family die for good? Apparently not, because after beating the final challenge in Custom Night, you'll see the destroyed remains of a familiar building. Michael speaks to his father, saying that he accomplished his mission, and that there's one thing left for him to do now. Come find William. And then the camera pans over to reveal Dark Springtrap. What? Yeah, I guess Funko accidentally made their own OC out of this guy, which confused a lot of people. In all reality, it's just Springtrap, and anything Funko said about the character is non-canon. Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator was a small joke game released for free after Sister Location. That didn't stop people from trying it out though. In Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, you play as Freddy, feeding children with pizza that you can customize from the menu. All is well until a few rounds in where you start to notice some glitching. And oh, it's actually FNAF 6. Nobody was expecting this game to be FNAF 6 in disguise. It was entirely marketed as a stupid pizza throwing game, which made the reveal so shocking. After the glitching, you're thrown into a dark room, and sitting across from you is Scrap Baby. On your table is a cassette tape. Playing it reveals the voice of Henry Emily, who is another character that you would have needed to read the books to know the existence of. Thanks, Scott. Basically, Henry and William are the co-founders of Fazbear Entertainment, but William had to go and mess all that up by murdering a bunch of kids. Back on track though. Henry's tape gets cut off by Scrap Baby, and then you are thrown into the first of 3 gameplay segments. The first consists of you now owning your very own pizzeria, which you can customize to your heart's content. Although not in a very good starting budget. Don't worry though. If you're running low on cash, you'll also have various sponsorship opportunities you can take, which will pay you in exchange for putting advertisement signs around your pizzeria. Don't buy anything too risky though. We wouldn't want another lawsuit in our hands. Once you're content with your pizzeria, you can descend into the office for the next segment. In the office, you'll be sat in front of a monitor where you have to complete some daily tasks for your pizzeria, ranging from ordering supplies to remotely unclogging toilets. You may also notice some animatronics lurking in your vents, in which case you should deter them using your flashlight. But be careful. Everything you do in the office makes noise, which can lure them closer to you, especially your fan, which keeps you from having a heat stroke, but makes a lot of noise, so you have to strategically keep your temperature below 120 degrees at all times. I messed it up. I messed it up with the very last word. So you have to strategically keep your temperature below 120 degrees at all times. Besides that, you should have a pretty easy time getting everything done quietly.
About Raid Shadow Legends Day?
Raid Shadow Legends.
Quiet, shut up!
Shadow Legends.
Once you've finished all your tasks, you'll be taken to the final segment of the game, salvaging. Each night you'll be presented with a different animatronic to salvage, starting with this pile of spaghetti, then William Afton, followed by Scrap Baby, and finally Lefty. Each time you salvage an animatronic, you'll earn a hefty amount of cash, but you'll have to deal with the animatronic during the office segment. Lore time, and oh boy, do we have a lot to speed through here. This game was set up as the finale, so a lot happened. So how is Baby back? Well, Ender didn't like having Baby as the host of the body, so they kicked her out, and Funtime Freddy took over. So Ender is now Molten Freddy, and Baby is back to being her own entity. William is back because he survived the FNAF 3 fire, although his new suit design doesn't really make sense. And Lefty actually has the puppet inside of him, which will make sense in a minute. During the Tycoon section of the game, you can actually play various minigames in your pizzeria, and oh boy, is it a lore fest. Playing the Fruity Maze reveals that Susie, the girl who possessed Chica, was lured by Afton after he supposedly kills her dog. Midnight Motorist reveals that Purple Guy drenched himself in mustard, and Security Puppet reveals that Puppet was meant to be stopping a young girl from leaving the pizzeria, but was impeded and couldn't save her in time. Once you beat the final night, assuming you salvaged everyone successfully, you'll hear Baby, who has misunderstood why everyone is here. A beep plays, and Henry's voice takes over, interrupting Elizabeth's. In the greatest monologue I have ever heard, Henry reveals that the entire building was a trap. A labyrinth with no exit, a maze with no prize. As the temperature slowly rises, Henry mentions that he had a way out planned for you, but he's sure that you're right where you want to be. He drops the hardest line in all of fiction as a goodbye to William.
Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole, so don't keep the devil waiting, old friend.
And mourns the loss of his daughter, Charlotte Emily, aka the Puppet, one last time before ending his communication.
End communication.
If you completed the Lorekeeper ending before this point, you'll be met with an image of 6 graves. Gabriel, Fritz, Susie, Jeremy, and 2 unintelligible graves, presumably for Charlotte and whoever possessed Golden Freddy. And that was it. The story was over after FNAF 6. At least, everyone thought so. Until... After the release of FNAF 6, Scott said he would release one more big update to the game, featuring a custom night, just like he did for Sister Location. I'm sure it wouldn't be anything too major. Holy f***. So, yeah. The Ultimate Custom Night, originally slated to be FNAF 6 DLC, released as a standalone game with over 50 characters from across the entire series. I will not be poorly explaining each individual character because that would make this video like 5 hours long, but we will be talking about the lore. After certain thresholds in this game, you'll unlock various cutscenes, featuring 2 anime-styled shows. One featuring Samurai Freddy on his journey to get revenge on an absolutely jacked Foxy. The other features Toy Chica in high school, pulling a yandere simulator, and murdering her love interests. All fun and games until you've seen every cutscene and reach 9,800 points, where you'll be rewarded with Golden Freddy twitching in the darkness. The general consensus for this game is that the player is William Afton, being tortured by Cassidy, the spirit inside Golden Freddy, for all eternity in his own personal hell, which is a bit dark, but oh well. That would be the end of the FNAF series once and for all. Both FNAF 6 and UCN were a satisfying conclusion to the series, and it's been an honor to be a part of this 4-year franchise.
Hello? There's nothing that'll bring my series back to life faster than a big bag of Fazbear cash.
Haha! Me too, Scott. Just a year later, we were presented with the release of Five Nights at Freddy's VR, Help Wanted. Turns out that a lunatic has been making up complete fabrications about Fazbear Entertainment that have earned them a bad reputation over the years. So, Fazbear Entertainment has pulled a complete 180 and adapted these stories into a virtual reality experience. All you have to do is agree to terms and conditions comparable to signing up for Disney Plus, and after that you're thrown into the hub world where you can play through faithful recreations of the first 3 games, as well as some mini-games based on your favorite characters from the series. I won't go through them all, but as you play through them, you'll discover Faz coins and glitch tapes. And once you collect enough, you'll see a familiar face behind you in the hub. Sure enough, William Afton's consciousness has somehow been digitally transferred into a video game after he went to hell, and he'll just kinda creepily stand behind you for the entire game. There's 3 endings to Help Wanted. In the first, you beat every minigame and find Glitchtrap beckoning you onto the stage. If you follow him, you'll be shown the point of view from Freddy, implying that he stuffed you into a suit. The other 2 have to do with Glitchtrap himself. Once he fully manifests, you can do one of 2 things. Either you can fail to follow the tape instructions and swap places with Glitchtrap, or you can follow the instructions and get locked up behind a door. None of them really make that much sense, although has any game really made sense since the 3rd? I assume the trapped ending is the good one here, because afterwards Glitchtrap is turned into a harmless plushie, but I don't know. The lore got really wacky after UCN, so it's hard to keep up nowadays, especially with so many books thrown into the mix. Then there was the Halloween DLC, Curse of Dreadbear, and if you did find the secret ending in the Corner Maze minigame, then you'd find a white rabbit mask, which will be important later. If you put on this mask, you'd hear the voice of, presumably the protagonist of Help Wanted. Eventually a flat mode of Help Wanted would come out, and in a hidden Easter egg you could see something being built in the distance. Presumably a mall. Five Nights at Freddy's AR. Yeah, this one got deleted. Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach was one of the most hyped up FNAF games. I mean, finally a free roam FNAF game after 6 years, and it was made by the company who made Help Wanted. Probably one of the best games in the series. What could go wrong? Oh. Alright. Well, obviously more time equals more quality. Yeah, Security Breach didn't release in the best state, and it was basically a bunch of fetch quests with one boss fight, and possibly the most frustrating game to beat because almost every ending required you to play past 6 AM, which you weren't allowed to save during until months after release. Essentially, you play as Gregory, a child who snuck into Glamrock Freddy's stomach hatch during a performance at the Mega Pizzaplex. With the help of Freddy, he tries to leave while avoiding the security guard, Vanessa, but the doors shut at midnight, so he has to do various activities like survive the daycare attendant, run from Vanessa, run from Vanny, and destroy all the other animatronics in order to upgrade Freddy. There's also 6 endings. Which one is canon? Who fucking knows? Most people would probably say Princess Quest. Personally though, I like the one that I'm about to talk about. So if you successfully take down every animatronic, there's an elevator in Roxy Raceway. If you go down, you'll go past a version of Molted Freddy who's like 10 times bigger, named the Blob or Tangle, whichever you prefer. After that, you'll fall into a small office where you'll be shown an animatronic charging station. Inside is none other than this immortal asshole. And after a boss fight with Trap, you'll watch him get strangled by Tangle before running out of the Pizzaplex while it collapses. The best part? Scott did not want this. In Darko's Scott Interview 2.0 released for the anniversary week, Scott admitted that Trap was never even supposed to move, but due to miscommunication, Steelwool took it upon themselves to tie all the lore together, even though the lore doesn't make much sense. And what's that? MatPat's going insane and saying everybody is a robot with the soul of an Afton family member. Oh boy, we better get into an asylum ASAP. At least Steelwool would kinda redeem themselves later with... So, to make up for the unfinished, buggy clusterfuck that was Security Breach, Steelwool would announce Ruin, a free DLC update that would release about a year and a half later. In the DLC, you play as Cassie, a friend of Gregory, who has come to look for him after his mysterious disappearance. Finding a walkie-talkie, Cassie is able to communicate with Gregory, who begs for her help. Then you have to go through a bunch of familiar yet destroyed locations. Eventually, a mask bot will hand you an augmented reality mask called the Virtual Augmented Neural Network Integration Unit, or VANI, which I'm just now realizing doesn't make sense because there's no U in the abbreviation. Whatever. Using this mask, you can walk through walls. What? How the hell does that work? Whatever, you use this mask to solve various puzzles, and honestly, it's like the same 2 puzzles the whole time, but if you have the mask on too long, you'll be chased by the Entity, a glitchy rabbit powered by Mexis, a security protocol, which was made to trap someone from escaping imprisonment below the Pizzaplex. There's also AR inhibitors, which prevent you from using the mask, so you'll have to disable those to access certain areas. Anyways, you get chased by all of the animatronics that Gregory destroyed, but she finds Roxy, her favorite animatronic, trapped under a forklift, and has to put her down to make it to Gregory. Then she cries like a little bitch the entire time, descending into the sinkhole. Eventually, she falls into the burn trap room where she disables the Mexis security program once and for all. After doing so, she goes into the next room and finally meets Gregory. Or so she thinks. An endoskeleton with bright red eyes throws its walkie-talkie at Cassie's feet before Roxy jumps in to fend off the threat while Cassie runs. After an intense chase sequence, guided by the real Gregory this time, Cassie makes it to an elevator just in time to escape the endoskeleton. And as Gregory's trying to explain himself over the speaker, there's some distortion as he changes his tone and cuts the wires to the elevator, destroying the escape route in order to keep the threat trapped. Now this character is called the Mimic. Kinda random introduction, right?
Well, if you read the books.
Yep. Another very important thing you wouldn't have understood had you not read the books. The Mimic is theorized at being the new antagonist moving forward, and he's been around for a long time. Ever since the late 1970s. He's able to imitate any behavior he watches, and even replicate voices, which is a really interesting ability that'll make for some great scares. Ruin may not be perfect, but it's definitely setting up an interesting plot for the future. Even if Ruin isn't my favorite FNAF game, it was definitely the start of Steelwool's redemption. In my heart though, they need to make another VR FNAF game to really make me happy. Now this is what I'm talking about. Five Nights at Freddy's VR Help Wanted 2 is the next game in the series. Developed by Steelwool Studios, who made such bangers as the original Help Wanted. Once again, there's way too many minigames here for me to explain each one, but they're all super fun and unique takes on various parts of the series. Also, the reveal of hard mode in this game is amazing. In the original game, you switch to hard mode levels via a switch in front of the monitor, but this game you find a Faz wrench from Security Breach and unlock a hidden room where you find an AR inhibitor. That's weird, right? Well, looking up, you'll notice a poster that says, "Clocking out already? Take off your mask." And sure enough, you've been wearing a Vanny mask up until this point. Time. So in this game, you're playing as a Faz technician who is quite familiar with the Faz wrench, and it's hinted that Bonnie is your favorite animatronic. Using clues from what Cassie said in Ruin, it is assumed that you're playing as Cassie's dad, which makes the base ending to this game very interesting. After collecting every Faz Force action figure, you'll be surrounded by staff bots, and then see through the eyes of a mask bot, handing Cassie her Vanny mask. The other ending is weirder, but after playing a Princess Quest arcade machine, you'll find yourself in a claw machine, where you hand the daycare attendant the NightTrap plush from Help Wanted 1. He gives it to Vanny, who crushes the plushie, which has now become NightTrap, before going into the darkness. As much as I love William Afton, I think this theoretical destruction of his code, as well as Burntrap's death, should probably be his ending. I love that he always comes back, but I genuinely can't think of a single good way to bring him back to life this time. So I hope he's relegated to games that take place before whatever year Help Wanted 2 and Ruin take place in. And that brings us to the present, where the most recent official FNAF game release is Into the Pit, a 2D pixel game where you play as Oswald, who discovers a time-traveling ball pit. Yes. Really. And it results in his dad being kidnapped. I know that doesn't make much sense, but does anything in the series make sense? So yeah, Oswald goes to Jeff's Pizza and hops in the ball pit, which gets him transported to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. And there he witnesses the missing children's incident before being chased down by the Yellow Rabbit, a supernatural entity. Oswald makes it back to the present, but his father is dragged into the ball pit by the Yellow Rabbit, who assumes the role of Oswald's father. Unfortunately, though, you're the only one who's actually able to recognize that your father has been replaced. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't played this game yet. I've been so caught up in everything I've been doing or working on that I never actually got the chance, so I can't go too in-depth on gameplay. Essentially, you have to avoid the animatronics, mainly the Yellow Rabbit, by hiding from them in different spots. It looks really fun. Anyways, by the end of this game, you save your dad from the past, and during a fight sequence, the Yellow Rabbit ends up strangling itself, ending the horror once and for all. You lie to your dad about what really happened and leave the pizzeria, but in a post-credit scene, the Yellow Rabbit comes back to life. Sound familiar? As far as canonicity goes, Into the Pit probably takes place in a separate universe because it's based on the story of Into the Pit from the... Oh, those bastards tricked me into reading a book! In all seriousness, though, it sounds like the new developers, Megacat Studios, are going to likely come back for more book adaptations in the future, and I can't wait to see what kind of cool stuff they bring to the table next. And that's all. At the moment, the next major release planned for the series is Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic, a game set in the late 70s, making it the earliest game ever, timeline-wise. It'll be developed by Steelwool Studios, and it will include an optional VR mode, which I'm very happy about. Until then, make sure to check out the previous video in this series, Mortal Kombat 1 Poorly Explained. And if this video does as well as the first one did, then I'd love to continue the series. In fact, if you got any requests for a game or game series to do a Poorly Explained video on, let me know in the comments down below. As always, if you enjoyed the video, remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.